911. What's your emergency? Help is on the way. Stay clear of the pool and keep eyes on her. Do not go in. Imagine a bond so profound, so awe-inspiring, that it feels almost mythical. A connection between human and an apex predator forged in trust and spectacle. We flock to witness it, drawn by the sheer majesty of these creatures and the bravery of those who stand beside them. We tell ourselves it's entertainment, a magical glimpse into another world. But what if that magic is just a thin veil barely concealing a terrifying truth? What if the cost of that spectacle is a life shattered in an instant, leaving behind only echoes of screams and the chilling realization that some bonds were never meant to be? This is the story of Elise Maro and Kayla and Orca, in a tragic incident that ripped through the heart of what we thought we knew about human-animal connection, forcing us to confront the true price of captivity. Elise Maro wasn't just a trainer. She was a legend in the world of marine mammal performance. For over a decade, the pools of BlueSea Sanctuary in Santa Cruz, California, were her second home. From the moment she first dipped her hand into the cool, chlorinated water, as a wide-eyed intern, she knew her path was set. She had an almost preternatural ability to connect with these magnificent complex beings. It wasn't just about cues and treats. It was about understanding, about patience, about a silent language spoken through gestures, eye contact, and an innate empathy that few possessed. Elise's days were long, starting before dawn, with health checks, and ending late into the evening, often long after the last visitor had departed, as she spent extra hours observing and interacting with the orcas. She dedicated her life to them, sacrificing personal relationships, holidays, and often even her own well-being for the sake of her charges. Her colleagues often joked that she knew the orcas better than she knew herself. She was known for her quiet determination, her infectious laugh, and her unwavering belief in the intelligence and emotional depth of the marine mammals she worked with. Her profession wasn't just a job, it was a calling. She saw herself as an ambassador bridging the gap between two vastly different worlds, the human and the cetacean. Her performances were not just tricks. They were to her a display of harmony, a testament to what could be achieved when trust was paramount. She genuinely believed she was providing a rich, stimulating environment for these animals, a stark contrast to the vast, boundless ocean they had been torn from. This deep-seated conviction fueled her dedication, making her one of the most respected and admired trainers in the industry. Her bond with Kayla, in particular, was the stuff of industry legend, a testament to her unique gift. Kayla, the name, ironically, means pure. But there was nothing pure about the life she had endured. She was a northern resident killer whale, a magnificent marine predator known for their distinct black and white markings, immense power, and complex social structures. Adult female orcas like Kayla can reach lengths of 23 feet and weigh over 8,000 pounds, a truly formidable presence in the water. Kayla's origin story was a tragedy waiting to unfold. She was captured from the wild as a juvenile off the coast of Iceland, a brutal operation that tore her from her family pod, a unit so vital to an orca's well-being. Imagine a human child ripped from its mother, its siblings, its entire world. That was Kayla's reality. From Iceland, she was transferred through multiple facilities across the globe, a floating, living commodity. Each move meant new trainers, new routines, new pool sizes, and new social dynamics. With other captive orcas, often aggressive ones, her behavior was a ledger of her trauma. There were warning signs clear as day, if only management chose to see them. Early reports from other facilities noted unpredictable mood swings, periods of lethargy, followed by bursts of aggression, and unusual vocalization, sounds of distress, that went unheeded. She would occasionally breach aggressively near trainers, not as part of a performance, but as a territorial display. There were incidents of refusing commands, bumping against trainers during sessions, and even damaging pool equipment. These were not minor quirks. These were escalating declarations from a highly intelligent animal under immense psychological duress. But these warnings, these cries for help, were consistently ignored by management, perpetually overshadowed by the relentless pursuit of profit and maintaining a pristine, family-friendly image. After all, a killer whale that actually acts like a killer isn't good for ticket sales, is it? The whispers started subtly small deviations from routine, almost imperceptible to the untrained eye. Elise, with her unparalleled understanding of Kayla, was the first to notice. A hesitation before a jump, a slight listlessness in her usually vibrant eyes, a mood shift from playful to withdrawn, sometimes even a sudden jarring snap of her powerful jaws, just a little too close to Elise's hand. These weren't overt acts of aggression, not yet. They were flickers, shadows in the peripheral vision, dismissed by others as Orca quirks, or just a bad day. But Elise knew better. She felt it deep in her gut, a subtle, unsettling shift in the finely tuned rhythm of their bond. She voiced her concerns repeatedly to senior trainers, to veterinary staff, to park management. She highlighted Kayla's documented history of unpredictable behavior, referencing internal reports that detailed similar incidents at other facilities. She proposed changes to Kayla's routine, more enrichment, longer periods of free play, less intense performance schedules. But her pleas, though heard, were ultimately brushed off. The constant pressure for revenue, the upcoming anniversary show, the need to maintain the illusion of absolute control, these factors weighed heavier than a trainer's intuition. "Elise, she's just being an orca," they'd say, with a dismissive wave. "You know how they get. She loves the crowds." The unspoken message was clear. The show must go on. The subtle signs began to escalate a near miss during a high-energy routine where Kayla misjudged a jump, almost colliding with Elise on the platform. A few weeks later, Kayla refused to surface for an extended period during a training session, causing panic among the staff, before finally re-emerging, seemingly unfazed, but leaving a chill in the air. The internal reports, once tucked away, started to resurface in the minds of the staff. Whisperers turned to hushed conversations. The breakdown of safety protocols wasn't sudden. It was a slow, insidious erosion built on the foundation of complacency and profit-driven neglect. Everyone felt it, that tightening knot of dread, but no one dared to pull the emergency cord. Not yet. June 12th. The air crackled with anticipation. It was the BlueSea Sanctuary's 20th anniversary, a monumental milestone, and the grand finale performance was set to be the highlight of the day. 800 spectators, a sea of eager faces filled the stadium, cameras, flashing, children squealing with delight. Elise, ever the professional, masked any lingering unease beneath her bright smile and confident demeanor. She wore her usual wetsuit, the familiar neoprene of second skin, offering little protection against an 8,000-pound predator. The show began with its usual fanfare. Upbeat music, synchronized splashes, the dazzling spectacle of powerful orcas soaring through the air, their sleek bodies glinting in the afternoon sun. Kayla, for the first few segments, seemed almost cooperative, executing her routines with the practice grace that had made her a star. Elise was in her element, directing Kayla with precise hand signals, her voice a soothing murmur of encouragement over the roar of the crowd. Then, at 2:47 p.m., a subtle shift. During a trainer and water segment, a signature act designed to showcase the intimate bond between human and orca, Elise slid into the pool. She was to perform a routine where Kayla would gently nudge her across the water, a display of trust and control. As Elise entered the water, Kayla's movements became less fluid, more jerky. There was a moment, just a flicker, where Kayla seemed to hesitate, her eyes usually so expressive, appearing distant, unfocused. 2:48 p.m. Elise gave the signal. Kayla was meant to approach slowly, but instead she moved with an unsettling speed. She didn't nudge Elise, she slammed into her. The impact was brutal, a sickening thud that reverberated through the water. A collective gasp rose from the crowd. Elise was disoriented, struggling to regain her breath. Kayla, rather than retreating, circled back. 2:49 p.m. The first true attack. Kayla grabbed Elise by her leg, dragging her down into the deep end of the pool. The water, once sparkling blue, churned into a violent froth. A blood-curdling scream abruptly cut short, tore through the stadium. Panic erupted in the stands. People stood pointing, shouting their initial delight, replaced by horrifying realization. 2:50 p.m. The nightmare continued. Kayla repeatedly pulled Elise under her immense tail fluke, smashing against the water's surface, creating thunderous splashes. Each time Elise fought her way to the surface, gasping for air, Kayla would drag her back down, holding her submerged for terrifyingly long intervals. Spectators later described the scene as a macabre dance, a brutal ballet of power and desperation. The pool became a vortex of frantic motion, dark shapes and flashes of Elise's bright orange wetsuit amidst the turbulent water. 2:53 p.m. Trainers on the deck, initially paralyzed by shock, began to react. Whistles blew, distress signals blared, but Kayla was unresponsive. She seemed utterly consumed by a terrifying primal instinct. They tried to lure her with food to distract her, but she ignored them. The other orcas in the pool, usually playful, huddled together, observing the horror unfolding with unnerving stillness. 2:56 p.m. Elise resurfaced for the last time. Her body was limp, her face pale, a gruesome cut visible on her arm. Kayla remained fixated, nudging her, then dragging her again as if playing with a broken toy. The screams from the audience had morphed into choked sobs and anguished cries. Security personnel finally managed to deploy safety nets and an emergency gate, attempting to separate Kayla from Elise. 3:02 p.m., after what felt like an eternity, but was in reality only a horrifying 15 minutes, staff finally managed to coerce Kayla into an adjacent pool using a combination of nets and loud sonic deterrents. Elise's lifeless body floated to the surface. The water around her was stained crimson. The silence that descended over the stadium was deafening, broken only by the wail of approaching sirens. The first 911 call came in at 2:50 p.m., frantic and garbled from a park employee. Trainer down, Orca attack, get here. Now within minutes, the BlueSea sanctuary became a blur of flashing lights and piercing sirens. Officers from the Santa Cruz Police Department were the first to arrive, their faces grim as they pushed through the stunned, weeping crowds. They cordoned off the area, pushing back distraught spectators, many of whom were still openly sobbing or in states of shock, clutching their children. Paramedics from the Santa Cruz Fire Department's EMS division rushed into the stadium, their medical kits clanking. They didn't need to be told the gravity of the situation. The scene spoke for itself. They pulled Elise's body from the water carefully, reverently, despite the urgency. There was no pulse, no breath. The signs of the brutal assault were devastatingly clear. Multiple lacerations, blunt force trauma, and severe internal injuries. Their efforts to resuscitate her were valiant, but ultimately futile. Elise Maro was pronounced dead at the scene at 3:15 p.m. Witness accounts poured in, each one a harrowing piece of a larger, terrifying puzzle. She was just gone, dragged under, cried a young woman, tears streaming down her face. A father holding his trembling daughter recounted, "It wasn't a show anymore. It was a nightmare. She just wouldn't let go." An elderly couple, regulars at the shows, spoke of their disbelief. "Elise was so good with them always. We never thought—" Their voices trailed off, filled with a profound sense of loss and bewilderment. Park staff, visibly shaken, cooperated with authorities, though their faces were pale with shock and grief. The scene was documented meticulously. Photographs of the bloodied pool statements, taken from every employee present, security footage seized for review. The joyous anniversary celebration had transformed into a crime scene, a grim testament to the hidden dangers simmering beneath the surface of what was once considered family-friendly entertainment. The immediate aftermath was chaos, grief, and the dawning realization of a profound tragedy that would reverberate far beyond the confines of BlueSea Sanctuary. The news of Elise Maro's death ripped through Santa Cruz and across the globe with the force of a tidal wave. Social media exploded. News channels ran continuous coverage. The pristine image of BlueSea Sanctuary, carefully cultivated over decades, shattered instantly. The autopsy report was released a few days later, painting a chilling picture of the brutality Elise endured. It detailed extensive blunt force trauma, multiple fractures, deep lacerations, and drowning as the primary cause of death. The sheer force required to inflict such injuries was staggering, a stark reminder of Kayla's immense power. Merpure, the media frenzy was relentless. Journalists descended on Santa Cruz, interviewing grief-stricken park employees, bewildered spectators, and outraged animal rights activists. The story became a national sensation, reigniting the contentious debate surrounding Orca captivity. Headlines screamed, "Trainer killed by beloved Orca, BlueSea's dark secret, the price of entertainment." This public scrutiny cracked open the sanctuary's carefully constructed facade. Whistleblower revelations began to surface, painting a damning picture of systemic neglect and prioritized profits over animal welfare and trainer safety. Internal reports, long buried and dismissed, were leaked to the press. These documents detailed Kayla's history of unpredictable behavior, her documented aggression, and her traumatic past, a past that BlueSea Sanctuary had downplayed or outright ignored in their promotional materials. One report from 2017, written by a concerned veterinarian, explicitly warned of escalating stress behaviors in Kayla and recommended significant changes to her interaction protocols with trainers. This report, damning in its foresight, had been filed away and forgotten, replaced by optimistic assessments. Legal consequences quickly followed. Elise's grieving family, through their lawyers, announced their intention to file a massive wrongful death lawsuit against BlueSea Sanctuary, citing negligence and a failure to protect their employees. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, launched a full-scale investigation scrutinizing every aspect of the sanctuary's safety protocols, training procedures, and animal management practices. There were calls for criminal charges against park management, though no charges were ultimately filed. The public reaction was immediate and visceral. Protests erupted outside the sanctuary's gates. Animal rights organizations, already vocal opponents of marine mammal captivity, found a powerful, tragic rallying cry in Elise's death. Petitions to ban orca captivity garnered millions of signatures. Celebrities spoke out. The carefully crafted image of these majestic creatures as gentle giants performing for human amusement dissolved, replaced by the grim reality of a highly intelligent wild animal driven to a desperate act. Attendance at BlueSea Sanctuary and other similar parks plummeted. The calls for legislative change, once quiet murmurs, became a deafening roar. Kayla, the orca at the center of the tragedy, became a figure of intense debate. To some, she was a killer, a dangerous animal that should be euthanized. To others, she was a victim, a symbol of the inherent cruelty of captivity, an animal whose natural instincts had been warped and pushed to their breaking point. She was isolated, no longer performing swimming alone in her pool, a silent, powerful testament to the irreversible consequences of a life confined. Elise's story, tragically, isn't just about a trainer and an orca. It's a stark, horrifying parable about the lies we tell ourselves, the warnings we ignore, and the profits we prioritize over the well-being of both humans and animals. Elise became a symbol not of failure, but of a broken system that consistently chose illusion over reality, entertainment over empathy. Kayla, forever marked by the incident, became a living monument to the inherent wildness that can never truly be tamed, only broken. Her empty pool, a silent, swirling abyss, echoes with the haunting question that still reverberates. How many more must die before we finally stop calling this entertainment?